Hello, Ori and the Blind Forest fans. I hope nobody's sick of this tournament yet because it's only getting good right now. Forget everything you knew before. I'm J Hobbs. I'm here with Roos, and you want to tell me why this matchup is going to be so good?
This absolutely my most anticipated match of this tournament. Not because it's like the two best runners going together. These are two very, very good runners who, until about an hour ago, I would have said are on the cusp of putting up good times. But what makes this match so good is when they were seeded, Smashfully was slightly ahead of Random. Almost immediately afterwards, Randomson bopped her time. And then since then, they've been kind of battling back and forth. And right before this match started, Randomson came into Smashfully's chat posting that he had just gotten a 39.01, and not 10 minutes after that, Smashfully finishes her run with a 38.40. So literally within 15 minutes of each other, the two of them put up new PBs. Smashfully is slightly ahead now, but these two have been neck and neck. This should be an absolutely unbelievably close race. I'm so excited for it.
I am insanely excited as well. So excited that I forgot to go ahead and join the race lobby, so I'm going to do that. But Roos, you want to give us a little update on how this group is looking for or looking in the tournament so far, rather?
Yes. So as far as I'm aware, the current standings in this match are myself. I'm actually in this group. I've played one match against MrRandomson. I took that one, so that's me taking one, and then myself, I'll be playing Epicat later on today. Actually, I think that's 2 races away. That's going to be his first race of the group, I believe. And then Randomson, this is his second. Smashfully, this will be her first. So really, this group is very much undecided. So something like this match right here, where these two are so neck and neck, the winner of this race very well could determine the results of this group. No question about it.
Crazy. Well, I see in SRL that our race is off. I'm not quite seeing that on our layer.
Well, looks like we just got going, actually. All right, nice.
There we go.
All right, nobody panic. They will sync these up here momentarily.
Yeah, absolutely. Smashfully and MrRandomson. These are two runners, who have for a bit been going for the sub 40 now. Both of them, I know, have been grinding out practice like crazy. And one of the things about speed running that can sometimes, as I'm sure a lot of you are runners and know, so one of the things that can get you a little demotivated sometimes is when you're not quite hitting that goal you want. So I can only imagine that both of these runners are coming in on incredible highs because they both just got the sub 40 that they've been wanting, and Smashfully PB'd by over 3 minutes. So
yeah, she cut the 41, the 40, and the 39 all in one go. I completely agree. Like the feeling of relief these guys have to have, especially because sub 40 is such a big milestone. You know, sub 38, that's just another number. Sub 40, that's a nice round number. It's a really obvious goal for a runner to make, and they both made it today. That's sort of to my mind, sub 40 is sort of the threshold where you go from beginner runner who's kind of figuring it out to, okay, now you're starting to know what you're doing. And these guys are both solidly sub 40 now.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Nothing's going to be too surprising in this first little area, just killing off the Frankies. It looks like both of them handled it pretty well. Randomson maybe having a slight edge there, and they're going to be making their way to wall jump. Now, as great as it must feel coming off of a PB like that, do you think the nerves have, kind of gone up a bit because now they're expecting themselves to do better, or gone down at all when looking at something like Glades, which is often a cause for resets?
Yeah, no joke. Glades, plenty of resets. I had plenty of them today myself. I talked to both these runners quite a bit. I'm actually pretty close friends with Smashfully. She lives not that far from me, and we practice UP1C, so I've been talking to her a good bit. I know she's definitely been very nervous going into this. I can't imagine the PB has shaken that, so it's definitely something she's going to have to dig deep and fight off in order to put up a performance. Randomson as well. I've seen him talking in chat a bunch, and he's been saying how he also extremely nervous. I think maybe the one difference might be Randomson had done a race once already, and he did take a loss, unfortunately. So is that going to make him, feel a little bit worse because he's already lost one and he doesn't want to lose another? Or is that going to bring him into this thinking he has something to prove, and now he's going to really bring his A game? I guess we'll find out as this race unfolds.
Yeah, it looks like it's going well for him so far. Maybe the nerves hitting Smashy a bit, but I'm sure she'll settle in and not have no problem pretty soon. She took a little bit of extra damage and had to kill off a slime she didn't exactly want to on the way over to the 4th health cell. Both the runners picking up the 4th health cell as expected. And so she's got a bit of a deficit at the moment, but again, anything can happen in this game. I myself had a death going into wall jump earlier today, which is not something I normally do.
No.
So
a death before wall jump is pretty much an instant reset for any runner. No question about it.
It's definitely. Oh no! And just as we're talking about it,
no.
Smashy takes one to the bramble wall. I think she had enough health to take the damage boost and just kind of slipped up a bit. It's a little unfortunate, but again, this will totally even out later if someone takes a bad death. Early on, it feels like the worst deaths because all you can do right now is run, jump, and shoot. But really, your bad deaths are later in Sorrow, Misty, and even potentially some Ginso deaths can be really poor.
Later on, we have our energy usage routed much more closely. Early on, you have more opportunities for safety saves, and your death's probably not quite as costly unless you take a really, really bad one.
Yeah, it is also fortunate for Smashy that she took that death between the Ghost Door and the wall jump instead of before the Ghost Door, because then she would have been all the way back at the end of the Frankie fight, and that is certainly not somewhere you want to be. Randomson leveling up on the way out. Looks like Smashy's leveling up on the way in, and I'm forgetting to update the skills, which I expected to happen, so I'll do that right now. But it looks like Smashy's made it to wall jump this time.
Randomson giving her a little bit of opportunity to catch back up. He is stopping to kill the slimes in this area that we refer to as the elbow. Optimal strats will jump directly through the first one with a damage boost, and you'll move in such a way that baits the second one to shoot in a way that you can dodge. And so you'll take 1 damage but get through them as fast as possible. He, on the other hand, stopped to shoot them. That may throw off his experience going forward as well. We'll see if he's able to adapt to the extra experience orbs that he picked up.
Yeah, he
but
did.
Because that was a little slower. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, he did level up on the way out as well, so his energy or his experience was already pretty high. I'm sure he'll be checking it right before the save anywhere here.
All right, let's see what he gets. When he's on the save pad here, we'll be able to see.
Taking a safety save, not the worst idea. Must have been a little bit lower health and wanted to go in at full health.
Not at all, especially for runners like this whose times are good, but they're not on the level of like Sigma Zen or Hydra that we've seen earlier. So taking 5 seconds for a safety save, if it means it's going to save you a minute later, absolutely a good decision, especially when tournament nerves are on the line like this.
Yeah, it looked like he had 34 experience, I believe. We have a little bit lower bit rate on our commentary stream, so it's a bit hard to read some of the text, but I think he's totally fine on experience.
Yeah, when he brought it up, he was about a little bit more than 25% full on his level, so he's doing just fine.
Yeah, if he were any less than 24 away, that's kind of the key number we look for, then he needs to actually adapt and not kill one of the 2 slimes you would normally kill in Black Group Burrows. But he's going to be just fine. We've got Smashy not too far behind at all, going into the save anywhere herself. I believe her experience is totally fine as well, looked like about a 41. And yeah, I mean, just a couple quick deaths anywhere could easily catch this right back up.
Oh yeah, no question about it. This is a game that, you know, if you're averse to losing your runs because of a death, not necessarily the game for you, because even with the quote-unquote safety strats, you're at most 2 hits away from dying in most places. And even with the safe strats, some areas you're still 1 hit from dying. And our tricks in this are a lot of fast rocketing around, a lot of high-flying jumps. It's so easy to kill yourself.
Yeah, no Randomson definitely showing some safety here. He actually missed the fast cycle in Black Group Burrows because he was a little bit spooked by the laser cycle he got. So a little bit extra time there for Smashy to pick up. She did actually take some damage on her way down. Probably only 1 damage, so probably not a big deal. But it is something to keep an eye out for. Randomson also messed up his cycle manipulation here. Gonna be losing some more time there. So Smashy already has some opportunities in Black Group Burrows.
Looking like she's gaining some of her confidence back. Those hops between the platforms you see her on are pretty finicky, especially that last one. Your ability to make it is dependent on where those 2 platforms are relative to each other as they bob up and down. It's an easy place to accidentally kill yourself. And
but unfortunate death there. It looks like she was worried about the shot overhead and actually walked off of the platform when she needed to wait instead, and it just unfortunately threw her into the spikes. But not a bad one, actually. Dying before this laser section isn't too big of a deal. You can still go for the fast cycle afterwards, because it kind of resets to the same spot when you load from save.
It, though.
Yeah, unfortunate. that cycle, though it it does reset to where it was, it is based on your movement from entering Black Root Burrows, not from loading a save or from coming back from grabbing the orb. So her movement on the way over to the orb might have been a little unclean there. Meanwhile,
she does a
Randomson on the
relatively
right
aggressive
side.
cycle manip there. Let's see if she can get her movement clean, then she'll be able to catch up some time on Random, because he missed his cycle manip, and that's about 8 seconds right there if she makes it to the platform on the way up.
That is true. Randomson looking like who had a bit of a close dash glide there, but he's totally out of Black Root Burrows just fine. We'll see if he takes another safety save here. Having a bit of trouble dash gliding over the slow zone, but not too bad. Doesn't opt for another safety save, so kind of interesting that he went for one on the way into Black Root Burrows, but not as worried on the way out. I didn't quite catch if Smashy got that cycle manipulation or not, but it looks like she probably did.
Yeah, and speaking of safety, there's a slight variation you can take there. There's 2 platforms at the end of that little floating section. You can either drop the orb on the far right one, which is safe. It keeps the laser out of your way, but it is a few seconds slower, about 2 or so. She's opting for the safe strat, which, given what I know about Smashfully's playstyle, I assume she's going to elect for mostly safe strats this run. That seems like her kind of style.
Yeah, and that's one of those kind of very minor time saves too, so not surprising.
Absolutely.
At all. Randomson going into the Death Gauntlet now. He's going to be taking 2 damage in the water, so it looks like he'll hopefully be okay. Gets past the Frankie, no problem. That Frankie actually jumped really late, surprisingly, so made it even easier for him. Smashy's now grabbing dash herself. There it is. I'll remember this time with the tracker. And Randomson, we'll see if he takes a safety save on his way down after grabbing that energy cell. Not going for it, which I would assume means he's probably not going for that early grotto cycle with the crushers. One of those things, again, that you don't necessarily learn until you really need it.
Yeah, he chooses not to go for it, it looks like, which not a terrible decision. I mean, the early grotto cycle saves about 8 seconds, which is it's a decent chunk, but it's a pretty high execution trick. So if you're still trying to bring your times down to, around the sub 40 or a little lower area, there's definitely other things you can work on that might be a little bit more bang for your buck.
Yeah, Smashy actually took a safety save after Black Root Burrows, by the way, which worked out pretty well for her because she got hit by another slime, or actually by the spikes on her way to grab the Frankie. So now she doesn't have to worry on these next spikes about taking 1 or 2 damage. She actually took 2, so that safety save that she took at the Spirit Well was a perfect decision.
Absolutely paying big dividends here. Randomson now getting to double jump, looks like, which is going to increase his horizontal and vertical air mobility quite a bit, particularly horizontal. The way the jumps work in this game, you get a lot of horizontal momentum, but not much vertical. Our vertical momentum is going to come later with some other skills. For now, it's mostly going to let him traverse areas a lot quicker. Now, interesting, looks like he didn't opt for the blind movement here. There's a way that
because he did save and level up the rekindle ability, so it's surprising that he didn't go for the blind movement there.
He might just not be confident in it. There's a way to skip the cutscene of when you get yourself the wall jump skill or double jump skill, and it doesn't so much skip the cutscene as allow you to move during it, but the camera doesn't follow you, so you have some off-screen blind movement you can do to optimize a few extra seconds out of it. And I guess he's a little bit worried about dying during it or something like that and just opts not to go for it.
Ooh, almost got that second try grotto skip for Randomson, but it looks like third try after a brief fall is going to be what he gets. Smashy also didn't go for the early grotto cycle, which is not too surprising. Still a pretty close race between these two. Randomson's going to be going into this climbing section. This is a lot of kind of optimized wall jumping, and you'd think that it's not a big deal if you kind of mess it up, but if you fall down significantly, you can actually lose quite a bit of time. Smashy, unfortunately, on the left, taking a death on the way to double jump, but...
Oh, and another.
Yeah, it's not the biggest time losses because you do make that save for the ghost door, but it's certainly not something that you want to see as a runner.
No, not at all. Oh, and another one. She's unfortunately caught at 1 health here, which is good for the ghost door, but bad in this situation where she keeps finding stray hits here and there. All right, now that's looking clean. Okay, she just makes it over to the frog, and she's in double jump now.
Yeah, looking a lot better for her now. Randomson on his way out after grabbing the water vein, key to the first dungeon that he's making his way to now.
Now, he didn't open that door that we just saw him pass. A lot of players are opting for a 5th health cell in order to get themselves some extra safety, and traditionally the one that we just passed is the cell that they're going for. So the fact that he did not open that door may be pretty strongly indicative that he's not planning to take a 5th health. He's going to go for 4. which is a pretty safe number, but 5 will allow you to survive some hits in one of the most difficult areas later on called Sorrow Pass.
Yeah, he did actually get hit by the suicide slime on his way out of the grotto, and he recognized it well that he needed to go grab a flower for an extra bit of health because he wasn't sure, I believe, if he was at 1 or 2 health. And if he was at 1, there's a planned damage boost that you would have to dodge from a slime that's quite difficult. So smart decision by him there.
Taking a little bit of extra damage from a Frankie there. Yeah, the movement in this area is particularly important for random because right here we need to either pull this boulder out of this corridor or we need to push it in to go activate this teleporter. If your movement is good, you can pull it out and save time, but if you miss one of those cycles and have to wait on it, it actually becomes faster to push the rock in, even though it's slower overall. And fortunately, he gets it fast enough to be able to pull the rock out, saving himself a cycle of rotations on those spike. What would you call those? Are those? I think I always hear people call them chompers.
I'm just gonna call them jerks.
Okay, good. Absolutely.
That works for me. But he did take a safety save at the spirit well there to refill his health. I actually think his health might have been full, so probably just a little bit worried about getting by that last slime before the Ginso entry.
Well, he did hit the
certainly
frog after the dash glide off the pre-Ginso cell, so he wasn't at full, but he wasn't. I don't think he was in any danger of dying.
Yeah, not a bad decision though. It is sometimes hard to get by that slime when you're not too used to it. So
and we can see Smashfully having some trouble with the same area Random Set was earlier. She's also at 1 health, meaning she couldn't do the damage boost through that slime, so she had to take the time to slowly kill it with her shots. It's an unfortunate circumstance for her to find herself in. It seems like a couple of times now she's ended up at 1 health in places where even just being at 2 would make a huge difference because suddenly damage boosts are allowed.
She did get a very nice dodge on that last slime right before the level up though, so very nice from her. Randomson looks like he's making pretty quick work of Ginso here. Hopefully won't have any problems before dash. Or bash, rather, excuse me.
Now, the thing Smashfully needs to be keeping in mind right now is how important the late game is. If anything, much more important than this early game is. You can get through Ginso, you can get through Glades and all that, but the abilities become so much faster and the areas become so much more lethal later on. And one of the things that I think Smashfully's always been good at, and if you watch her stream, you can see her do pretty well at, is actually some of the later game areas. I think relative to her time, she will overperform in those areas coming later on if she can maintain her confidence here.
Yeah, I do know that Smashy is someone who, when a race starts to go poorly for her, or just a run in general, a lot of the times she'll stop and immediately practice some of the later stages that are giving her difficulty. So that's helped her out a lot so far in her progress. Randomson didn't have any trouble with the mini-boss, by the way.
Yeah, it looked pretty clean. Smashfully now starting the Ginso area herself, so she's behind by a little less than half of the Ginso tree right now, which is definitely possible to make up. Going back to Smashfully's strength as a runner, one of the things that's interesting about her is that she's actually been involved in the community for a very long time, but due to some computer issues, wasn't able to run it herself until very recently. So because she's been around in the community and seen so many streams and been around so many talented runners, her level of knowledge about the game is very, very high. You can ask her, how many frames is this, or where the experience orbs themselves. She'll be able to answer for you, but until recently couldn't actually get any practice herself. So her number of hours on runs is fairly low, but her mental understanding of the game is quite high.
Yeah, that is one of those dynamics that is hard to strike a quick balance with. Randomson, of course, is one of our newer runners in comparison and might not have quite as much knowledge of backup strats and whether it's worth going for something after missing it, but he might have a bit more execution if he's been spending more time on the practice. So
this is sort of a brains versus brawn kind of scenario we're looking at here.
Exactly, potentially. Smashy did just take some damage from the mini-boss on the left side. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, or she'll find herself fighting it from the beginning. Randomson, meanwhile, did manage to go and duplicate his keys properly the first try, so that's pretty nice. I always know that's a very scary portion in Ginso.
I would be lying if I said I hadn't lost more runs than I can count to improper key dupes.
Absolutely. I'm terrified of that for the next race.
Are you racing next?
I am racing after this. It'll be
nice. Who are you racing?
Your runs against I'll be racing Chicken Supreme.
All right, cool. I believe I'm commentating that. I probably should have known what was coming up next.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of warrior races for everybody tonight.
Yeah, I believe there's 5 today. This is one of 5 coming up.
Yeah, Smashy not quite getting the swag jump out of the first 2 keystone areas, but or first 2 keystone area. But it looks like she's still fine. She made quick work of that mini boss after taking that damage, so no problems there. Randomson's going for the core skip now. His experience should be fine. I haven't noticed any problems, but we'll see if he has any problems with it himself. No worries. There it is. Core skip, absolutely fine.
So Smashfully now getting to Bash, one of the most important movement abilities in the game. It's going to allow her to interact with enemies in ways to allow her to fling herself off of them and fling the enemy in the opposite direction. Super, super critical for fast movement in this game. It's also one of the highest opportunities to display your skill as a runner. So if she's going to make a comeback, this is definitely one of her opportunities to do it. If she can bash better than Randomson is bashing, she can start to creep up on him with better, just slightly better technical play.
What I find interesting is that Randomson is one of the few runners actually in this tournament that answered the questionnaires that we gave out beforehand, saying that he's going for hybrid control input, like switching between controller and keyboard and mouse.
That is very interesting, yeah.
Just for the save anywhere, or if it's for a bit more. There are only a couple other runners to do that. I know Terra and Religion are some of them. Unfortunately, on the left side of your screen, Smashy just missed the key duplication, took a death.
It is unfortunate. Yeah.
I'd
be interested to talk to Randomson about his hybrid style after this. Terra, who you mentioned, I know the way he does it is uses controller up until he gets this bash ability, and then he likes the way bash works with mouse a lot more, so he switches to keyboard and mouse at that point.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the same thing Randomson's going for. Yeah, I believe I'm seeing his mouse cursor move around, so he may be fully switched to KBM at this point.
Yeah, I see a mouse cursor too, so it definitely looks like he has he's at least partially switched over to KBM at this point.
Yeah, and he's about to pick up Stomp. Smashy, meanwhile, got the key duplication the second attempt, so she's now probably not going to have too many more issues in Ginso.
Brynhold in chat is saying Randomson does do the same control scheme as Terra, where he switches after bash.
Ah, okay, so that's a very interesting method to use. Again, I believe only Randomson and Terra are the ones who do it, so...
It's really impressive to be able to wrap your head around that, absolutely. I personally find controller borderline impossible. I don't know how you guys do it. So to have to switch from controller to another control scheme sounds just unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of switching. I actually played this game casually with keyboard and mouse, but then found controller more comfortable than using KBM when running it. So it's kind of weird how you can have that dichotomy of both types of runners existing in the same community, and as we saw from the GDQ hotfix, existing within the same skill levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool that there's 2 completely viable control schemes that really are. It's not going to hold you back. You can use controller, and as Lucidus proved, you can absolutely keep up with and beat the top runners in a race. Oh no, Smashfully, it looks like she is unfortunately having to do the left side though.
Yeah, I think her level up, I believe when she dashed, her level up was unfortunately a bit too far to the left. And that's really rough. This room doesn't take too long, but if you're
just misses, oh no.
If you're not used to doing this room, then that's when it can definitely become an issue.
I have myself run into this issue before where I failed a core skip, and I have not done this run since my casual play, and so there is a way to angle this shot at it, but it's not something I practiced, and it looks like Smashfully's kind of running into the same thing where, in your speed runs you never see this, so why would you be practiced at being able to do it?
Yeah, you got to wonder if the proper judgment call might have been to place a save before the core skip, and actually it looks like that's what she's actually doing. Smashy decided to take a death and go back to core skip and try it again. Randomson, meanwhile, did pick up the 5th energy we've been seeing from a lot of runners this tournament. He got out of there cleanly, which was very impressive because it's not the easiest kind of movement to do. Smashy hopefully should be fine this time, and it looks like her explosion worked out well. Meanwhile, Randomson has picked up the Charge Flame now and be making his way into Valley of the Wind. He listed on her questionnaire responses that he's only going for Kuro cutscene skip. However, with this hybrid style that he's been adopting, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up potentially seeing fast stomp lists from him. I know Smashy will be going for that later, or at least expects to.
She's been doing it pretty well in practice and has been getting decently consistent at it. So if she can hit that, that's a decent chunk of time save she can make up here.
Absolutely. Looks like she's in the escape now, taking some damage. Hopefully won't be an issue for her. Got through, I think, the most difficult portion of it, so hopefully should be fine. Randomson's taking some damage of his own, having some trouble with this bird that's just refusing to stay in bounds for him. Doesn't like following the rules of the category, I guess.
Bird speedrunning too over here. He's doing all sorts of clips.
He'll be making his way to the Stompless area soon, so we'll have an update for you shortly on whether he'll be going for that or not.
After he gets through Valley here, he'll be into some of the areas I previously mentioned that become extremely dangerous. First and foremost is every runner's bane, Sorrow Pass. Everything in there is going to be killing him in one hit, pretty much. He took 4 health, so he can't survive almost anything there. So if there's a time that he's going to be making big mistakes that cost him time, it's probably going to be there.
Definitely. You see him coming up to the Fast Stompless area, and it looks like he will be going and getting the cell first, so he won't be going for Fast Stompless, giving Smashy 15 to 20 seconds to save on him later when she approaches there as well.
I would be curious to ask Randomson afterwards if he has opted to keep the stream up in order to keep tabs on where he is relative to opponent, or if he has everything hidden. If he does know his position relative to Smashfully right now, I absolutely agree with the decision not to go for Fast Stompless. There's no need to do risky tricks at this point. What he needs to do is just play a clean run. Now, Smashfully, on the other hand, if she knows where she's at, she needs to be going for risky strats here to try and hit some long shots that'll save her some time.
Absolutely. It is, of course, a bit of a judgment call, because you can, when you see that buffer, see that you have that lead, it can potentially be like, oh, well, maybe now I can go for the risky strats at least once, because I can fail it and still be okay. But again, I think I'd more agree with you. There's not much point in going for them, especially if you're not super practiced on them.
Now, the one monkey wrench thrown into that is that going into the bracket, your average race time in the group stage does have an effect. So wow, I can't believe Randomson got that rocket jump.
Oh, barely saved the rocket jump, but he didn't get very much height because of it. Looks like he was able to, get over to the side and bash cleanly onto the lantern, so he hopefully should be fine. He is on KBM at this point, as we mentioned, so he damaged that far left bird a bit more than you would normally want to for some folks, but he's just using a double.
No, he bonks the bird and then eats some spikes.
He did, of course, rekindle, though. That is one of the advantages of not going for Fast Stompless, is you can place the save much closer to Sorrow Bash, and he rekindled it, which was a smart decision here, as it does give him a few more attempts at it. Looks like it's going to take him at least 3, giving Smashy more chances to catch up. She's going for the Kuro cutscene skip now and nails it.
Nice.
Absolutely perfect. I believe Randomson didn't have any trouble with that either, so good on her to be able to keep that pretty close. Randomson taking his 3rd attempt now, and makes his way through Sorrow Bash. He does still have a bit of a gauntlet to go through before he's totally safe. We'll see if he decides to take an extra safety save in Sorrow. I imagine we'll be seeing that because of the 5th energy cell he picked up.
Over on your left, Smashfully electing for the 5th energy cell as well to get some extra safety saves, and has a very, very clean exit out of it.
Looks like Randomson is making his safety save and picking up more energy, so he may have a 2nd safety save planned for Sorrow Pass.
I'd be interested to see what he has planned for that extra energy. Normally the 5th should be enough for most runners, but he either wants to make another one. One possibility is most runners take 4 energy in their PB attempts. And so it's possible that he's just muscle memory used to going down for that energy in the way that he does Sorrow Pass. And so even though he has enough energy, he just autopiloted down to get that crystal.
Yeah, my guess would be that we will end up seeing a safety save from him before some of the spike sections. They can, of course, kill you. Any of the spikes deal 4 damage and will kill you instantly. But we'll have to look for that after Sunstone, which he'll be coming up to shortly. He had a bit of trouble with the frog juggle, but managed to rekindle that safety save he did make and respawn the frog without too many issues.
He got a very nice rocket jump up to the top there. That's a pretty big time save over just floating up the intended way. Smashfully looks like she's starting to get into her groove a little bit. Every time I look at her, movement seems to be better than early game. She's hitting her bashes. She's hitting her angles she needs to. I'll be interested to see if a combination of hopefully hitting Fast Stompless and maybe some clean movement in the end game can catch her up, or if she is too far out of it at this point.
No, I'd imagine we'll see a death from Randomson unless he's continuing to play at the same level he's been playing so far. I mean, he is playing very well. He's certainly still on a new PB pace at the moment, and sometimes, you know, all it takes is one day of just banging out a couple PBs in a row, and he didn't have any issues getting the charge jump either. So,
all right, Smashfully is going for fast stompless here. She skips the cell, which means she's committed to this now.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. She's dashing into place, waits for the spider shot, doesn't like her odds on the first one. The spider unfortunately got hit, so he's going to take a bit longer, but there's the second shot. The shot looks pretty good. She's dashing away rapidly, waiting for that spider shot to hit a cutscene, but wants to make sure she picks up the cell.
This one's good. Oh, no.
She got a little bit unlucky with the spider shot and couldn't quite climb up to the cell in time.
That is the worst possible scenario here, unfortunately, because not only did she miss the cell, but because the shot hit, she now gets teleported into Valley and has to go all the way back out for it. Like I said, there's no way to sugarcoat it. This is the worst case scenario from a failed fast stompless attempt.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Meanwhile, Randomson, he's still looking pretty strong going through Misty right now.
Misty, absolutely, I think.
Ooh, take some damage.
Most runners' favorite area, I think. Probably the most popular, and it's because of some very cool movement you're going to get to see here, including rocket jumps, charge jumps, bash glides, dash glides. Everything that we use in the speedrun all gets kind of summed up in one area here to make for some very cool movement.
And he had a few hang-ups on his way in there after taking that damage. He's still sitting at 1 health, but there's a good safety save to take. Gets him back up to 3. He will still die from any of these spikes instantly. They do all do 3 damage, but he will at least not be sent all the way back to charge jump. Smashing now seeing the Kuro cutscene that we normally try to skip with Fast Stompless. But at least she is now on her way to Sorrow. Looks like she didn't remember to grab those energy drops from that crystal, so I had to.
Fortunately, she remembered now instead of finding out later at the pass that she didn't have any energy to get her level up for the Sunstone cutscene skip.
Yeah, it looks like she's also doing quite a few double bashes. I believe that's the method she prefers. Not any kind of adaptation there, and she gets in there in 1 try, so that is quite a bit of time caught up on Randomson if she manages to stick through here without dying. And there's a good safety save to take, I believe. So now, yeah, she definitely saved about 2 different attempts on Randomson for that Sorrow Bash. Unfortunately, of course, had the mishap with the Fast Stompless that will probably counteract almost all of that.
Make no mistake, this run is not over. Randomson is still in one of the most dangerous areas, still has several difficult splits left to go.
And there, speak of the devil, there's 1 death from him. He did take a safety save, but he's also now at 2 energy when he was sitting at 1 before that death. So maybe a little bit of an okay outcome for him. But yeah, his exit to Misty is certainly not look quite as clean as his Sorrow Pass was.
Smashfully manages to get the frog up to the top for her rocket jump with just
the shot just misses though, and she didn't happen to notice. She did the rocket jump and ran right into the ceiling, so she's gonna have to float her way up. She did, however, still manage to have that frog shoot the ceiling before dying, so that's pretty favorable for her. I think that was just a little bit of luck with the timing of the rocket jump.
Yeah, but as far as time lost from that, that's pretty minimal.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we just saw Randomson miss a rocket jump up into the shaft. He'll be taking the slow way around. Luckily, didn't end up taking a death to it or anything. Now he'll be making his way to the mini-boss of Misty. And we'll have to see how well he does at that quick kill, because it's certainly something that we've been seeing a lot of different methods for, and a lot of failure so far in this tournament.
Yeah, Misty mini-boss is definitely something that feels easy when you're getting it, and then as soon as you mess it up, you're like, I just don't understand why I can't get this, and it seems impossible.
Yeah, it looks like it took him a couple of cycles, but he got through there just fine.
Yeah, 2 cycles is perfectly acceptable. There's a lot of runners who have opted to not even go for the 1 cycle and just accept a second one, because it's fairly quick cycles. It's not the worst thing in the world.
He decided to make a second safety save there after the mini-boss, which is going to mean that he's out of energy and won't be able to do any charge dashes on its way out. Dashing along the ground, not ridiculously slower, but certainly not as fast.
I suspect we'll see him stop for an energy crystal here due to the fact he's out of energy. Yeah, there it is right there.
Doing that in order to be able to get over the gap a lot faster.
Smashfully now has charge jump, can head her way to Misty as well. That's the area that Randomson just exited, so she's about one area behind right now.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't even say that Smashy's necessarily having, you know, the worst of runs or anything. This kind of fairly expected for a race. Certainly a lot more than we've been seeing in the tournament. This is more of what I've been expecting to see. But Randomson's just kind of flying by. He's just having a really good run for himself and not making too many stupid mistakes. So.
Well, I do have to wonder if this goes back to the fact that Randomson has already done one of his matches, whereas this is Smashfully's first, and I don't believe she has any other prior tournament experience. So, you know, it's definitely hard to play at 100% on the first time you're in this kind of situation. It's really hard to understand until you're in it, just how much it can get to you. And
absolutely.
Combine that with the fact that she just got a PB, so maybe her, you know, maybe it's hard to mentally keep yourself from checking out a little bit because you're subconsciously you're like, okay, I already got my good run.
Oh wow, Randomson actually almost took a death from that bane lane because he had a bit of a mishap with some of his charge jumps, but ended up managing to salvage it and still get up there with plenty of energy. So he's going to be grabbing late burst now without another death, and he's looking pretty good. There's not too much left in the run for him.
He could potentially be on PB pace here if he can get a very clean end of the game.
Certainly, I always love the movement from light burst to Horu, unless I hit those spikes as Randomson just did, which is very easy to do. But it's one of my favorite parts of the game, actually. At that point, there's not too much in your way to kill you. There's just a lot of energy and a lot of different movement abilities we picked up, and it's a very fun time getting over to Horu until you have to deal with the door warp. So maybe we'll just see a 4-minute door warp for Randomson and have.
You know, I have actually lost more than 4 minutes to door warp before, believe it or not.
It was
because I exited out before the autosave went out and had to come all the way back to light grenade, but it is possible. Oh, Randomson gets caught by the boulder, unfortunately.
He did take a safety save right before it, though, so very smart decision from him. He must know that that's not certainly the easiest area for him. That is a safety save I know that I personally took for a very long time.
Smashfully's movement on this light grenade split is looking pretty good here. She got the rocket jump she needs. She's been getting the charge dashes. There's another one you can see right there. She's refunding the energy with bashes. I know Randomson tripped up a little bit in this part. Let's see how she handles it. Looking pretty good overall. Now, on your right-hand side, Randomson is approaching Mount Horu, where the final escape will take place here very rapidly. He's definitely got to know that he's having a fairly clean run here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it certainly is still a PB potential for him. He just got one earlier in the day. Can't feel much better getting one PB than to get two. So,
especially if one of them's in a race, no question about it.
Exactly. Be charge jumping and charge dashing his way over. And now we get to see the frame perfect trick from him, see how door goes. Meanwhile, Smashy, back on her way out of Misty, actually got a nice little rocket jump there that Randomson missed earlier. So
Smashy's having a very nice Misty overall. Very impressed by her play here. She seems to have shaken off a lot of her nerves. She's tightened up her play, having a good, clean end game. Other than a little flub with the frog here. But even though she may not take a victory here, she definitely has a lot of stuff to be proud of for being able to put together one of the hardest areas in the game very cleanly in front of an audience, which she's not used to.
Definitely. Randomson, meanwhile, has missed door warp twice now. He'll be taking his third attempt now. Smashy is working on the minibus, takes an unfortunate death, but had a good safety save there.
That is a high-value save.
Is on attempt number 4 and manages to get the door warp in 4 attempts, so we'll be seeing him probably take the victory in this race, barring some ridiculous deaths in this final escape.
Now, 4 attempts does still save time over the second fastest method. Sigma's probably going to tell me I'm wrong on this, but I believe it is 6 attempts at door warp optimally before it breaks even.
6 where it breaks even. So you are correct, sir, and 4 is certainly not too bad. I'm not going to lie, I have considered taking the alternate method and having to fight an extra mini-boss, because, man, door warp is very rough, as we've seen from every caliber of runner so far in this tournament.
Oh yeah, I don't care who you are, you can lose runs to door warp, because it's just a no-holds-barred one-frame trick at the end of the run.
Yeah,
there's no tricks, there's no easy way to buffer it, anything like that. You just have to hit 1/60th of a second timing.
Meanwhile, Randomson flying through the end here. I'm not sure if he's still on PB pace. It's going to be very close at this point.
I don't believe Random does fish strats. No, we see him opting for the safer but 2 seconds slower option. Oh, he spawns Kuro though. Okay, fortunately manages to get away and not die. So he's pretty much in the clear here. Just needs to bash up once more and hold right for about another minute 20 seconds. That's going to give him a 39-10. So he missed PB by about 10 seconds.
If I'm not mistaken, if he had gone for it and gotten fish strats there, he would have actually PB'd. If I'm not mistaken.
What is his PB now? 39-0.
39-01. I believe he would have been PB'd by just a couple of seconds because he had to dodge Kuro because he messed up the trigger.
You very well might be right. It would be very, very close. I think he may have.
It's very close, and if it is, that's unfortunate, but...
And even if it was a break even, if he had just had one less door warp attempt, he was absolutely in there.
Of course. You still have to be happy with the insane victory on top of a very good run, quite close to his PB. Smashy had a little bit of trouble getting over to Light Burst, but is picking it up now, and will be closing this run out pretty soon. She's still not having a bad run for a race when we keep, harping on how Randomson's run has looked very good, but we got to remember that a lot of these races we've been seeing, people are coming several minutes off their PB, or a lot of the races we do online and aren't necessarily in the tournament form. That's happening for a lot of the runners.
In this kind of high pressure situation, I think a good estimate is just try to get within about 2 to 3 minutes of your PB. If you can do that, then you had a very good run. And
Randomson got within 8 seconds of his.
Yeah, that's very, very good from him. But even on Smashy's side, she, prior to her previous run, had a mid 41. And she's not going to be that far off of that, assuming she doesn't have any big disasters here. So, maybe not necessarily within 2 minutes of her PB she just got. But she's been at that mid 41 level for a long time, so to come close to that, not bad at all.
Yeah, and opting for a safety save here at the end. I wonder if she has had any updates and happens to know where her place is right now, or is just doing that for the energy and the health, because I know she lost quite a bit at the end of on the way out of Light Burst rather. But making her way to Horror now. Again, congratulations to Randomson taking the victory. I believe his first victory in this group stage.
Yes, that'll put him at 1-1.
One more match to go, so he could potentially come out of this group stage at a 2-1, which should be very nice for him. And now he's got to be pretty ecstatic, I think, coming into a race so close where both of the runners PB'd, and it was really, you don't know who's going to be the one to actually win this race. And
well, in a few hours, he'll be second place in his group because I'm going to be trashing Epicat, and he'll be going to 0.
Oh! Ouch, man. I could feel the burn from here. Okay. Epicat, I hope you got some aloe, man. But, yeah.
Well, let's see Smashfully's attempt at door warp here. She's pretty good at it. She's one of the first adopters of a audio cue method for this, which is what I use personally. I find it the most reliable. Let's see if she can use it to get a first try door warp here.
Had a bit of a hiccup there with the difficulty and didn't quite get it in one try. We'll see if it takes 2, though. It's going to take at least 3. This is a frame perfect trick. Again, no way around it. It really sucks. And 3, so still 3. A bit faster than Randomson there. Not bad for
Based on what we've been seeing in this tournament, 3 seems to be about the average for a lot of runners, which anytime you can get 3 or less, go ahead and consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the final escape between Smashy and finishing out this run. I'm going to guess that she's going to be looking around a 43 time or so, which is, again, is only 2 minutes off of her PB until today. So certainly well within the range that you normally would see from a no reset run. Randomson, just there's not much you can do to compete with someone who PBs once in a day and then goes 8 seconds slower than that PB the next time. So
absolutely,
really not much you can do against that. Randomson just doing a fantastic job.
All right, we can see Smashfully. She's through most of the difficult parts of the escape. I don't think she'll be going for fish strats if I know her, and so she really just has to get through these fish and then do a couple of charge jumps up, and it's a pretty easy way to despawn Kuro, make sure she doesn't come in and threaten you, which she does. So she's got one more charge jump, then a couple of bashes that she'll be holding right here.
And she's on her way.
It's going to be about a 43, 40, mid-40s, something like that.
Yeah, around there, so very nice job from Smashy as well. First tournament match, getting within a couple minutes of what was your previous PB until today. and at least she'll be walking away from today with the consolation prize of that personal best earlier. Meanwhile, while she's holding right, I want to give you guys a refresher on the schedule that we've got coming up here. I'm actually going to be hopping out right after this match because I have to have a match of my own for the Sorrow Pass group. I'll be racing against Chicken Supreme right after this. Following that, we've got Roos taking his break from commentary in order to race Epicat in the Valley of the Wind group. And then following that, we've got the Forlorn Ruins group with Grimelios and Pyrox, if I'm not mispronouncing that. And closing out the night, we've got the Ginso Tree group between Adriel and Trojan Dude, who we've seen Trojan Dude once so far, and he took a pretty solid victory with a nice 35 time in that one. So
yeah, that was actually our opening match of the tournament, and what a match it was. To start it off, it was incredibly close. It was back and forth. Trojan was behind for most of the race, but not by much, and then due to a couple of mistakes by Terra and some extremely clean play by Trojan, he was able to pull it out. So let's see if we can put on a repeat performance later on.
Absolutely. Smashy finishing out with a 43-42. Congratulations to her on finishing out that run. We haven't had any forfeits yet in this entire tournament, which I am very impressed by and super excited to see. We do treat forfeits as a very much worse tiebreaker time when coming out of group stages. So very excellent to see that nobody's opted for that.
I know Smashfully is the kind of person to hold herself to a high standard, but I hope she walks away from this definitely feeling good about her race, because there is just really no way to mentally prepare yourself for being in this situation for the very first time. Your hands are shaking, they might feel cold, you might be a little nervous, you can't quite get your brain to work right. And so to still put up a 43, definitely absolutely nothing to be ashamed of or to worry about. She's got 2 more races and then the bracket stage, so at the very least 3 more to try and reach her top potential.
Yep, definitely. And that's pretty much going to do it for this first race. I'm going to be hopping out so that I can get a sweet 13 minutes of practice in before my race. And I'm going to be introducing Vuligin here, who you've been hearing him all tournament long, and he's been doing a great job. So, Vuligin Roos, I leave the commentary in your very capable hands, and please don't make me look too bad.
Thank you very much, Hobbs.
How's it going, Vuligin?
It's going pretty all right. How are you doing, man?
What'd
you think of this race just now?
You know what? I thought this was a really good race. Very entertaining. Randomson really stepping it up the last couple of days. When he played against me, he struggled a little bit with had an overall clean run, but made one very costly mistake earlier that lost him several minutes. And this time manages to avoid it and still keep the clean play, putting up a very respectable 39-10. Smashfully, on the other hand, struggles a bit, but still manages to keep it together, finish out the run with a not at all bad 43-42, and has several more matches to look forward to going into this tournament, and can definitely show us what she's got. How about you? What did you think?
I mean, yeah, it's exactly as you guys said a couple times. Randomson, it's his second tournament match, and he's just coming off that PB. So instead of kind of having those nerves of like, oh my goodness, I have to go into this tournament match, there's so much pressure, he was kind of able to instead be like, I've done this before. And on top of that, I just got a PB. I'm feeling really good. And he was basically able to match his PB. And Smashy, unfortunately, it was her first match, and she didn't have that the opportunity to have that same approach. Instead, it was kind of like, I just got a PB. I have to live up to those expectations in this run right now. So you see the results. I think Smashy is going to have a much better time in future races. I don't even necessarily mean time on the clock. I just mean she'll probably be able to feel a little bit freer and not make some of those mistakes, which I know that she considers pretty unacceptable.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'd be very interested to see what kind of time she can put up in the next 2. I believe her next match is against Epicat on... No, it's going to be against myself on Thursday, and then she has her... she has both matches on Thursday. Wow, that's an interesting approach. She's going to be playing myself on Thursday morning and then Epicat Thursday night. So maybe that'll work in her favor. She'll have already played a tournament match that day, be warmed up, be ready to go, and can absolutely reach that highest, those fastest times that she's capable of.
Yeah, that's a really interesting approach, and every runner is different in terms of what they're comfortable with and whether they're able to kind of have a good performance in 2 matches in the same day. Of course, we saw Hetfield do that earlier on Saturday, and he was able to just kind of steamroll all his competition.
Well, I don't think it's fair to judge everybody else based on what Hetfield is able to do.
No, that's exactly correct. It may not be the case that everybody else is able to handle it the same way, but it'll definitely be interesting to see. I know that one thing that will definitely benefit Smashy is just if you're in the groove, just kind of continuously playing, even if you're not necessarily getting like earth-shattering performances, even if you're getting like 6 minutes off your PB, 7 minutes off your PB, if you're just regularly playing, you get in a groove and you're able to kind of focus on the game and not really have to think so much about everything. You just kind of, it just comes, right?
I completely agree. There's a really interesting difference between grinding attempts at home and getting a one shot at a race here in a tournament. And experience really just makes so much more of a difference here than it does anywhere else, because when you have as many tries as you want, as soon as one thing goes wrong, worst case scenario, you hit that reset button. You get to start all over, your mistakes are erased. But in this, you have people watching, you've got one shot. So when things start to go off the rails a bit, you need to know, what do I do to fix this? And having a lot of experience with the game, maybe you've made that mistake before, you know what I have to do to clean up this mess I've gotten myself in.
You know, that's a really great point, and I think it's something we don't talk about enough. One of the things that you get when you do a lot of PB attempts and you're always resetting on, this, I lost a couple seconds in Sunken Glades, I'm going to reset now. And that's part of the reason why we often joke in the community that Sunken Glades is such an impossible area and that you can never get past it, because you take a couple seconds loss early in the game and you're immediately going to reset, just like, oh, well, I can just spend another 3 minutes and get a faster Sunken Glades and then have a better start. But when you come into a race situation and that's what you're trained to do, that is a real problem, because you're used to any failure causes you to just immediately throw away the run, and you can't do that in a race situation, right? You have to keep going.
I completely agree. I think it was you that said, I read weeks back, that you didn't necessarily agree with the idea of resetting as aggressive as people do, because you take a 3-second time loss in Glades and you hit that reset button. Whereas if you took a 3-second time loss in Sorrow Pass, you'd say, oh, well, it was only 3 seconds, and keep going. And because of that, a lot of runners don't necessarily know what to do to fix situations later on in the game, because they haven't given themselves enough opportunities to play the late game. They've just been staying in Glades over and over.
Yeah, exactly. And I've certainly been, kind of an advocate of that in other speed games. I'm not really one to talk with respect to Ori, because I do reset a fair bit in this game, but it's good to be aware of that, and it's good to every once in a while just do some no resets. Definitely in this tournament, what we've been seeing in the community, aside from the tournament races, we've been seeing the community do a ton of impromptu races where just people will sit down and do a race, and it doesn't matter how poorly it goes at the beginning of the game, they will just keep going. And eventually you'll come up with, okay, I finished 7 minutes off my PB, big deal. But at least you finished a run and you got that confidence of, if I'm way behind, I can just keep going. And that's part of what has made Trojan Dude so successful, who we've talked about a couple times, right?
I completely agree. The one thing that comes to mind when I think of Trojan's racing is solid. I mean, I would be very surprised if any of his splits individually were faster than some of the top runners, but every single one of them together is very, very tight and close. Like he just doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Maybe he's behind 2 seconds from the best runners at wall jump, but he just creeps up on him over the course of the run and doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And he's able to put up very good, like 34 kind of times, that's going to win a lot of races.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare him against the results for the other top seeds in their groups so far, Trojan has one of the best times for his first race. Only, Sigma and Hetfield and Stefu are up there with him, and Hydra, of course. But Trojan's right there with, the 35-28 that he got, which is better than quite a lot of runners' PBs.
Going back to the idea, you mentioned all the impromptu tournaments Ryan doing, and I don't think it's a coincidence. Lately, the Ori community has just been nonstop PB here, PB there. Runners just constantly posting in Discord, check out my new PB. And I really think that it has a lot to do with the fact that this tournament is making people run nonstop, no resets. And maybe you waste another 20 minutes finishing out a run that was dead, but it just gives you that mental fortitude and that practice over the whole run that you really need to, when the time comes, clutch it out. You know, if you've been resetting a ton and you're finally on PB pace, you're not as experienced with maybe the last few splits, and you don't know how to like clutch it out, and you kill a run right at the end.
Indeed.